Also joining us is the Russia Program Fellow from the Foundation of Democracies, Ivana Stradner, and the former Trump administration U.S. Ambassador to the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, Ambassador James Gilmore. Good to have you both here. Ambassador Gilmore, neither of them really got specific, these two leaders, about a ceasefire. Here's what the president did say.
To put it very quickly, I'm going to start making a few phone calls and tell them what happened. But we had an extremely productive meeting, and many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant, but we have a very good chance of getting there. We didn't get there, but we have a very good chance of getting there.
Ambassador, I'm all for diplomacy, and you heard that in our last panel, that we've got to give diplomacy a chance. But as you know, this president's a results-oriented guy. In the first 200 days and counting now, he hasn't taken no for an answer, whether it's securing the border or pushing through the tariffs. How much time should Vladimir Putin have here to try to sell some of this to the Europeans before we get tough on sanctions, sir?
Well, my watch says that it's 9:12, and I think we're 2 minutes late. I think that we ought to be doing sanctions right now. I think we ought to be doing, after all, the president made it clear that these sanctions were something in order to bring about a ceasefire, and it just hasn't happened. And now we've had a meeting, but I think that the meeting has to be viewed for a particular lens. And that lens is, what is the goal and objective of Vladimir Putin? What has he sacrificed about 1,100,000 people in order to achieve? And he has a vision and an idea, which he has made clear over and over again, with the expansion of Russia back into the old Russian Empire, the Soviet Empire, what it looks like. That's clear. So the question really is that in the American national interest? Well, as a former soldier during the Cold War, as a person who's visited Ukraine, as a person who's been United States ambassador in Vienna, I would suggest to the president that that is not in the American national interest for Putin to continue in this path. Therefore, I believe he ought to execute on the sanctions that he's talked about. I think that it will continue to drive the economy of Russia down and make it more difficult for them to run their war machine.
The president, though, did say they made great progress today. We'll see what develops in the coming hours and days. Ivana, the president and Vladimir Putin, it was a quick press briefing, took us all somewhat by surprise. No questions afterward. What did you make of that? No questions, very unusual for the president not to take questions. What does this mean overall in your view for the summit and the war going forward?
So I firmly believe that this particular meeting was not about ceasefire per se, because President Trump is not naive. He understood very, very well from the early on that Putin is not willing to pursue a ceasefire anytime soon. However, Putin wanted to have a meeting, and he got it. And now the ball is in Putin's court. And it's precisely Ambassador emphasized, we have to pursue peace through strength by imposing more sanctions, because Putin is just buying more time. And we have to understand how the Kremlin thinks. Putin is a KGB guy, but the good news is that he was a second-rate KGB agent, and we can now really see through his eyes.
Yeah, there you go. Ambassador, the media is not going to give this president any credit. Even if he came up with peace, they say if he cures cancer, they'd be saying, well, what about diabetes? You haven't done anything there. Take a listen to the immediate mainstream media reaction to the summit. Watch.
Just a note on the red carpet of it all. I mean, I think it's a visual that, our reporters in the region say is just rubbing Ukraine the wrong way, to roll out the red carpet for a man who is wanted for war crimes.
Putin is winning in the early moments of this because he's getting a picture greeted by the President of the United States on U.S. soil after more than 3 years of being a pariah in the world for invading a democracy in Europe.
Ambassador, it's almost like they want the war machine to keep going when you have a commander-in-chief who's come to office and said, there's too many people dying on both sides, and we've been sending tens of billions of dollars in taxpayer money. He's got an America First policy, Ambassador, to bring this to a close, no?
Maybe not. It seems to me that the Ukrainians have to decide how much punishment they're willing to take in order to maintain their liberty and their sovereignty. And so far, what they've communicated to me years ago was that this would be a fight to the last man type of battle. Now, again, I think that there are difficulties on the battlefield, and I understand that. I believe that the United States should be supporting Ukraine. I believe the Europeans are stepping up to the plate. And in the long run, I think it's hopeless for Putin to try to conquer Ukraine and dominate those people. I just think that it's hopeless. I think he may know that. And I think that he wanted this meeting for a couple of reasons. One would be that he wanted to kind of postpone the sanction threat. And the second thing would be he's going to try to get what he gets on the bargaining table that he can't win on the battlefield. And there's no way he's going to conquer Ukraine at this point. I think that's clear.
Yep, and that's why I want to bring it to a close. Ambassador Ivana, we appreciate your insights tonight. We're out of time right now. Thank you.